Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of LostinTranslationmon. This time we're covering Digimon Ghost Game episode 15, The Fortune Teller's Manor. I'm May, and I'm joined by the lovely Chloe.
Hello.
Quinn is unable to join us this week, but she'll send through her thoughts if she is around to send through during the podcast, but if not, we will have them for our coverage on episode 16, which is next week.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into it, let's go over a quick synopsis as a recap for what happened in episode 15. So there's a fortune teller named Mephisto, but it appears and disappears randomly. Ruri's friend Mika asks her to find Mephisto, and meanwhile, Jellymon is on one of her fetch quest little job things and finds a human that's turned into a statue. She thinks it's just a statue, she touches it, and then she realizes it's actually made out of human, which is absolutely terrifying, absolutely, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I would not want to be petrified.
Oh yeah, it's very much just like, I would not want to be petrified at all. Like, it seems unpleasant. But anyway, Ruri finds the fortune teller, but she realizes that it's a Digimon who's called Postmon with a bunch of Boogimon. Ruri hesitates going to digital space as her friends are scared of Digimon, and she doesn't want to reveal herself as a Digimon person yet. I don't know. Do we have a term for the chosen children besides just like chosen children, I guess?
I think at least what the subtitles on mine said was like human partner or something like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't know if we have like an actual term.
I'm going to go with chosen children. But anyway, so she doesn't want to reveal herself as a chosen child or like reveal herself as partners with a Digimon because her friends seem quite horrified of Digimon because they're basically all monsters. But she ends up doing it anyway because she wants to save her friends. And then Angoramon evolves for the first time and the rest of the team shows up to help. And they all evolve to adult level, and they fight together against Phellasmon, who is a perfect level, but they don't really do much damage, and Phellasmon ends up just leaving and restoring the humans and says, oh, I never really wanted to win in battle anyway, I'm leaving now, because that's kind of what the perfect levels do, apparently, in this show, same with Chromon.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Ruri's friends kind of just not really questioning her, and they're not hounding Ruri for answers, and they talk about on the way home that Ruri has secrets and that's okay, and when Ruri feels like talking about them, she will. And I feel like that's such a nice way to wrap up the episode.
Yeah, it was a very wholesome ending for what was otherwise an actually like pretty scary episode, in my opinion, as far as this show goes.
So now that we've gone over the synopsis, let's discuss the discussion. So what were our highlights this episode?
I really liked the intro. Like, this is just a really good episode. I feel like they set the tone really well. And in retrospect, knowing that it's the, Angoramon evolution episode, that makes a lot of sense, but I didn't know that coming in, so I was pretty impressed throughout. That's
good. I liked how it was just I liked that scary atmosphere that this episode had, and I liked the fact that we had a bad guy again. Like, this is an evil Digimon, without a doubt, and probably I would say the most evil that we've had.
Yeah, I don't quite remember the one with the Pan's Labyrinth hand eyes very well.
Dracumon was just kind of pulling, like, he was doing it for fun, to pull pranks, but he
was
wasn't
just memeing? Okay.
Yeah, he's evil. Like, that is bad, but it's different from, like, being evil. Like, he is bad. He's doing bad things, but he's doing it for fun. It just doesn't seem as evil. And I know that we had, in the video game episode, Kinkakumon was turning humans into alcohol, and that's horrifying, but wasn't really evil. Like, kind of just said, oh, okay, fair enough at the end. This one was, like, an absolutely just, like, this isn't evil, this is a bad guy, and I would say, like, I don't know, I get the impression that this might be a big bad, or at least related to, like, some
I kind of got that vibe as well, actually. He was kind of hinting at, like, overarching plans when he said, like, my main objective isn't to win here anyway, or whatever it was that he said.
Yeah.
Which implies that he's been, like, assigned a task by something or other. And I guess, I was actually planning on leaving this for when we had, miscellaneous thoughts about the series. But since we ended up on the topic after all, I'm wondering, do you remember how many big, like, flagrant baddies have now slipped away without any sort of, like, redemption arc like Clockmon had? Are we at Dracumon? 3 or 4 or more?
Dracumon
we had
Chromon, but I don't think Chromon was bad. I think Chromon was just neutral. I wouldn't say that Chromon was either one way or another.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Like, in its own way, it was freeing birds that were captive, and even though they were pets, and pets tend to like being pets, or, I mean, that's the impression I get anyway, but the Cromon, I haven't really had a conversation with the bird, like, hey, I mean, I feel like some birds are quite happy with being household pets, I think.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But anyway,
we also had,
I feel like, Zasumon?
Metal Skullmon or whatever, is that the name?
Oh, Skull Phantomon. That was...
Skull Phantomon.
I got the impression that was just kind of another sort of... I don't think he necessarily
he,
wanted to be there.
Made some weird pact with Sistermon Ciel. Okay, so is she maybe a big bad, or was she just kind of a force of chaos?
I think she's just a force of chaos, because I think she's actually friends with Jellymon.
It did kind of seem like that, or at the very least, Jellymon, as part of her side hustle, was like hooking her up with go-karts or whatever.
Yeah, like, okay. I don't get the impression that that's necessarily an evil character, more than just, like, self-serving, is kind of just there for their own enjoyment. Same with Dracumon. I know Dracumon is actually, harming people, but isn't really doing it to harm people, is just doing it because he enjoys it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and, so we had Weedmon for sure, and now...
specifically the Elder Weedmon. I don't think the other Weedmon really were sentient much, but I know that the Elder Weedmon is definitely suspicious.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I was just wondering if there's a chance we might be doing, like, a low-key stealth introduction to, the four generals of the Big Bad or something like that. Because if I remember right, I'm pretty sure Appmon had something similar to that.
Yeah, it had...
so it wouldn't be the first time they've done it.
Oh yeah, Digimon actually, all of Digimon loves having groups of Digimon. Like, we have the Royal Knights, which are sometimes goodies, sometimes baddies. We have, like, the Demon Lords. Digimon loves groups of Digimon as just being, like, in their own, like, little class. Like, they've got the Holy Angels, we've got the Olympus 12, I think there are, and it's just different groups. So that would not surprise me if this show is trying to introduce another bad group, like, league. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, so that wouldn't surprise me if that happened. But, yeah, maybe. But I know, I can't see much in common with, Fellasmon, with his army of Boogieymon, and then we have Dracumon, which is a child-level Digimon, and then we have Elder Zasumon, which is kind of like just a weaker adult level. So I don't know, that seems like a really, like, assorted bunch. Like, they don't really have a theme.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. On the other hand, I feel like it wouldn't be that impossible for them to just, have a big bad who chose them specifically for, very particular things about them and, not to match a theme, but more just because of what they could do.
Oh, we also have the Black Agumon who appeared in the Gurlaskamamon episode, like, kind of watching. Mm-hmm. But that's not evil or good. That's more like that's suspicious. Like, we don't know where they're aligned. Mm-hmm. But it could be either way. Yeah.
At any rate, that was just a thought that crossed my mind that seems perhaps actually fairly plausible.
Yeah, apparently. No, that is a very plausible thing. And I guess this episode has a lot of, like, hopeful looks at the future for this show. Like, it's nice to see the whole group fighting together. Mm-hmm. Like, that was kind of cool. The animation this episode was really crazy. Good. The animation, the amounts of, like, the use of lighting, like how the sun was kind of setting, have just shining on the group, like, that just looked really cool.
It was a very pretty episode, especially the snow digital world area. Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Like, they have not dropped in animation this whole series, which is really good because Colin dropped off, like, after 4 episodes in terms of animation. And I mean, it came back with some good animation here and there, but so far Ghost Game has been pretty solid with animation and just being pretty. It's just a very pretty looking show, and it really just makes Colin kind of look not so well animated, like, compared to other things that are running now.
Ghost Game does some nice little subtle things that I think help make it look a lot better than it would otherwise. Particularly, I was thinking how a lot of times in, like, the scary situations, they'll have a little filter on the screen so that if you look towards the corners, you kind of, like, see double, except the colors are kind of split out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really nice touch that I'm sure is just, a little filter they're slapping on top of the actual animations, but it makes it look so much better.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just, they do a lot of little things that make it look really nice, but they also do occasionally pull out the stops on episodes like this one and just make the whole thing look gorgeous.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, I feel like this is probably the best animated one we've had for a while.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Because, like, I mean, I don't think I've had anything really to say about the animation for a bit. Like, even on the episodes I liked, I feel like, oh, okay, it looks fine, but this one was just, like, chef's kiss, as the kids say.
The animation on the one where we got Guluskema on was pretty good. And that was, like, two episodes ago?
Yeah, that was 2 episodes ago, yeah.
Yeah. But, like, you can definitely, like, at least I feel like the big plot important episodes tend to have a much higher animation quality.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense.
Even though the whole thing is pretty good, but...
Yeah.
So this was a very pretty episode, and that's how you can tell that it's important.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can still have a good episode and have it not look well animated. Like some of the episodes of Colin that I really liked, I wouldn't say were particularly incredibly animated. And on the other hand, there were some episodes that I did not like that were incredibly animated. So it can go either way. But this episode, it was just really nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like the fact that we actually give characters to Ruri's friends, especially. I know we touched on the synopsis, but the fact that they ended with almost like a parallel to the episode where Angoramon was sneaking off and having fun time with, like, the Tea Party Digimon crew. And there was kind of like Ruri was kind of upset that there was a secret being kept between the two, and the resolution was... don't have secrets or, like, tell your partner where you're going kind of thing. But this episode almost, like... I think it must have been a reference to that episode because it was so clear, and at the end they were just being like, oh, it's okay to have secrets. She has secrets. If she wants to tell us and if she's ready to tell us, she'll tell us. Yeah. And I felt like that was such a nice little message to finish on, that, like, you can have secrets, but you can tell your friends, but don't force your friends to tell secrets if you're not ready. Like, that was a nice way to finish it.
Yeah, I agree. I actually will admit that I didn't really make the connection to that episode until you just mentioned it. But yeah, now that you do mention it, I think it's definitely there as kind of like a character growth moment for Ruri, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it could just be, like, coincidental, but it feels like, you know, that was a Ruri episode, this is a Ruri episode, and we kind of have that parallel of her friends thinking that, like, oh, no, Ruri will tell us when she's ready if she wants us to know. Like, she's got something going on, but, like, Ruri, like, they saw that Ruri was clearly a little bit, like,
she was
anxious
about
telling them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was unsure. And I like that we have Ruri considering her friends, like, oh, I don't want to scare my friends, but I have to save them. And that is nice. Like, she's got, you know, friends. It's nice to see her think about her friends. And it's nice that they kind of they're not just, like, friend 1 and friend 2. We actually have, like, names for them.
They have names, yeah.
They've got almost personalities.
I was about to say, personality-wise, they're still kind of friend 1 and friend 2, if you ask me.
Yeah, but I would say they have bigger personalities than sometimes characters had in all of Colin.
I could certainly believe that.
They've got the same personality as Sora in Colin.
Okay, that's fair. I don't remember all that much of Colin.
Well, Sora didn't really have a personality, which is sad. Someone doesn't like Sora in any of the Digimon Adventure stuff.
Apparently.
It's sad. Yeah. But any other highlights?
It was really good at setting an off-putting sort of keeping you on the edge of your seat sort of air. Like the statues were actually pretty terrifying. Like they were straight up unsettling. I really liked those.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Also, it was kind of not a point that I expected to be that scary, but still kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. Was when Jellymon stuck her little tentacle into the statue person's head and realized, holy shit, this is a human.
Oh yeah, that was, like, kind of creepy, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't just, like, touch it, she, like, entered it and then realized, oh god, that's a person.
Yeah,
like, that was scary. Yeah,
that is gross. Like,
yeah.
Ew. Thanks, Jellymon. But, like, also her reaction to it was just so... Like, it was... Her reaction was well animated. Like, it really showed her emoting, which is really nice when they... Like, I always like how Digimon can show emotion even if they're not particularly, like, characters that have much way of, like, facial structure. Like, in the original adventure, they gave quite a lot of emotion to Digimon like Tentomon, which don't really have, like, a mouth or, like, normal eyes. So they made him, like, emote in other ways, like, in his posture. And they do the same for, like, Jellymon when she's in, like, the jelly form. And I love that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a nice touch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna totally butcher the pronunciation of the big bad's name, but Philesmon?
Philesmon, yeah.
Looked pretty dang scary. When we got that, like, intense close-up of his face, like, right after he took his hat off when it was the big reveal, like, I was mildly startled. I wouldn't be surprised if, if someone's younger sibling is watching this, that'll, give them a nightmare or two.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like, and the disguise itself, like, this Digimon has actually been around since 2002, but I didn't actually recognize it for a bit. Like, the disguise was so good. Like, I knew it definitely was creepy, but yeah, I didn't recognize this Digimon. But yeah, this Philesmon's been around since 2002 and has appeared in one of the anime before as like a Mon of the Week. But yeah, it's just nice to see again all these kind of older looking Digimon hanging out with the new blood, so to speak, like Jellymon and Angoramon and Gamamon. They're all new Digimon, but I like having Mon of the Week that are returning Digimon that we've had for 2 decades now.
Yeah. Some of them that have been around the block a few times.
And that was what Adventure Colon was really good for, was having these Mon of the Week that maybe haven't even been animated before. And I really do like that, the way that they're trying to showcase these Digimon more in these seasons, like Colon and Ghost Game. We're just getting these Digimon that have been around for years and have been mostly forgotten about. So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it at least partly must be there specifically as, a little treat for the old fans, because, as someone who does not know any Digimon, more or less, I never really have those, like, oh, cool, this is Blankmon, they haven't been around since, 03. But I'm wondering if that is there purely just for, like, service for the older fans, or if part of it is also just, like, we cannot, like, literally cannot just keep thinking up new monster designs all the time. Like, there's only so many variations you can do. Either way, I'm fine with it, but...
Yeah, I think that Colon was definitely the case of introducing older Digimon that the older fans can mark out about. Maybe Ghost Game not so much, because, like, these Digimon are now in the card game, and Philesmon was in Cross Wars, but definitely with Colin, that was to bring out some emotion in older viewers, especially with how the official Digimon Twitter account and the Digimon reference book would have these reference book entries before the episode aired, and they would tweet out like, oh, remember this Digimon that we've never animated, like Burpmon? They said, look, Burpmon is going to be appearing in this episode. Burpmon was previously on the Virtual Pets. And then saying that sort of like nostalgia-filled tweet would get people tweeting it, and then maybe more people would watch the episode.
Gotcha.
So if it's not, well, in the case of Colin, if it wasn't just to like, hey, let's put in this Digimon because we'll get this little Easter egg for the older fans, it's definitely the case of the tweeting about it, getting people to watch it, to have those older Digimons. So yeah, it could be to bring in people that are older fans just to see Digimon that have never been animated or have been not animated for a long time.
Yeah. But one thing I can definitely give to Ghost Game is that even when they are doing the, hey, check out this throwback character that we're bringing back this time, they still managed to make the episode engaging for those of us who haven't seen that character before, because I know there was at least one episode of Adventure Colon where I remember you gave it a fairly high rating because you were like, it was so great to see all these Digimon just kind of vibing together or something to that effect. And that just had no effect on me. I was like, yeah, that sure is a lot of Digimon in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that,
and that was like about all. Yeah, but that was like all that it really was, is like, hey, remember this Digimon? We drew them. But this time it's, hey, remember this Digimon? We drew them and also put them in a really good episode. So I appreciate that I can, still enjoy it, even if, it's not... I feel like Adventure Colon leaned a lot more just on the nostalgia factor rather than including, actual good stuff as well. Which I think hurt it.
I think that Colon tried to, be for both old fans and new fans, and that, I think, was one of the failings of it, because it tried to be both to the original fans and the new fans, and ended up being kind of a weird mishmash and not really going either way, because it was stuck in the middle. I
didn't really know what it was by the end of it either.
But I feel like Ghost Game is definitely more accessible to new fans. It is definitely its own show. It's not expecting you to know anything about other Digimon previously. They even they give you the who's this Digimon screen in a quick flash, because they're not expecting you to know all these Digimon or to know how powerful it is. And I feel like Ghost Game's doing that really well, but it's still enjoyable for someone who's been a fan of the series for a long time, and that's what I'm liking about Ghost Game. It's definitely a new show for new kids, but it's not cutting out the old fans and showing that you don't really need to try to appeal to the old fans to get them to watch it. They'll watch it anyway because they're huge nerds.
Yep, ain't that the truth?
The biggest instance of Colin being hurt in this way was Izzy's, Koshiro's backstory, how early on in the series he was kind of weird about his family situation, and then Sora was like, "Hey Izzy, what about your family situation?" And he was like, "Oh well," and then Ty called them and cut them off, and that's the last time we heard about him having family issues.
Oh, oof.
And of course, the people who grew up with Digimon know that very early on in the show they start hinting at something with Koshiro's family, and that's the fact that he's adopted. And he overheard his parents talking about it, and they were talking about trying to tell him, so he was kind of his thirst for knowledge comes from wanting to kind of know what they're talking about. And then he ends up kind of talking to them about it, and they find out that his parents actually died, and his adoptive parents were colleagues of his biological parents. But he ends up saying, "Look, I don't care who's biologically, you are my parents, and I love you so much." And it's this really nice moment.
That's good character development right there.
Yeah, and it was beautiful, and it was it all came together after a bunch of episodes kind of hinting at it. And then Colin kind of hinted at it, but it never really was said. We never learn anything other than there's something going on there. Which, for the older fans, you kind of fill in the dots, okay, he's adopted. But the newer fans, wouldn't they be okay, what about the what about his home situation? What's going on there? And you never find out.
Hey, can we circle back to that?
Yeah. So I feel like Colin tried to be for the older fans, but also at the same time tried to be for new fans, and ended up not doing particularly well on either front. But Ghost Game, just same with Atmon, just aim for the new kids, and as I said, older fans will watch it because they like Digimon and they're huge nerds. They're not going to really want you to sort of appeal to their sense of nostalgia, because watching it in itself is appealing to the nostalgia there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my TED talk on why Ghost Game is so far doing better than Adventure Colon, in my opinion.
Big mood. Also, was this the first time we've had a different biome in the digital pocket dimension thing that we go to? I feel like every time I remember it's just been kind of neutral weather.
Yeah, I think that it's the new dim card that Ruri inserted at the start of the episode. In the same way that last episode, Hiro got the letter from his dad, and it was a sandy area, and that's actually a real dim card that he put in, judging by the colour. The one that he put in is called Titan of Dust, which is a sandy one, and then but the message from his dad has him in the sandy sort of biome area. So that's kind of a nice little thing, and I would assume that's the snow sort of field. Yep.
I don't... What even happened last episode? Apparently it was not very memorable for me.
Yeah, it was the grandma resort and the monkey. Okay.
And then, we went to the beach or whatever. Wait, did we even...
Yeah.
I don't
Fireworks.
remember when
it was
we
an
went to
onsen it was the onsen and beach episode.
I remember that, but I'm now trying to remember if they even actually went to a, pocket dimension at any point.
They kind of do. They put in the Titan of Dust dim, and that brings up a message from Hiro's dad about how he's camping in a desert, and that kind of makes the room they're in kind of deserty, I think. It's very quick.
I vaguely remember that. Okay, but it was just when they were watching the video then?
Yeah.
Okay.
But otherwise, no.
I was trying to remember any sort of resolution to the conflict that episode that happened in a desert, and I was coming up blank, so I was a little confused. But anyway, I like that we're getting some variations on the little digital pocket dimension, because it's always it was pretty like from day one, but I really liked the icy one. It looked really good.
Yeah, that one was pretty.
Also, right as I was trying to figure out who my favorite character for this week would be, Gamamon came running on screen, living his true purpose as a sled dog, and while I can't give it to him just for that, that was maybe the best thing I've seen in Ghost Game so far.
Yeah, I mean, Gamamon still has his moments.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's over Bokumon's death, though, but also I guess we didn't really focus on Gamamon much this episode, so
Yeah.
I'll give them a pass for that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, I think that more or less closes out my highlights list because we already talked about how her friends were cool about Ruri having secrets at the end.
Yeah. So lowlights. My lowlights are going to just be me being a broken record and saying that a lot of Ghost Game episodes are kind of hurt by only being 20 minutes in length because that fight finished quickly.
Yeah.
They had so much evolution animation and so much like introduction and setting the scary scene that by the time it was battle time, Felezmon was just like, well, I've got to go home now. I have to cook a turkey for dinner. Like, he just has to peace out. And it's the same as a lot of the episodes. The same with the Chromon episode. Like, they don't even have time to somewhat fight. They have to just throw some attacks and then just, like, look at the clock and go, well, it's time to leave.
Time to bounce, yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, like, it's him just being like, oh, I'm a bad guy, I'm really strong, I'm going to leave, but it felt kind of almost, like, anticlimactic as an evolution episode.
Yeah, and it was kind of the same
good.
with the Tesla Jellymon episode, if I remember correctly.
I really liked the Tesla Jellymon episode. I think that y'all gave it a lot. Hang on, I should check my...
Was that the one with the fighting game and the gourd?
Yeah, that was Game of Death
people?
episode.
Okay.
That was episode 10. I gave a 5 to that, and both you and Quinn gave 2 to that episode.
Gotcha.
So I really liked that episode, but yeah, again, it also suffered by the fact that... Oh no, I felt like the fight was actually longer in episode 10 because it was kind of the whole episode.
In a way, yeah.
In the way that Kiyoshiro was kind of like controlling Jellymon with his little fight stick. So I felt like the fight in that was a little bit longer and it didn't suffer as much. But this episode I felt like did suffer from that more because it set a great scene and it set the spooky atmosphere. It set why Ruri was looking out for this tent and also set why the rest of the cast were looking for the tent for different reasons. And then we got to the tent, we got to see what Digimon was to blame, and then we had to go to the digital space, then we had to evolve, then we all evolved, and then we all attacked at once, and then the episode had to end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this episode felt like it just ended far too quickly,
As do many
and
of them.
I like... Yeah, but again, that's something that's not necessarily unique to this episode, because I feel like a good shot... I should really start writing down which episodes ended too quickly, because at the moment I feel like it's...
I think you might have said that for every single episode so far.
No, I think for...
Except for maybe the first one.
No, last episode and episode 13, which was the Gulas Gamon episode, I think for both of them I said that it at least was paced well. Even though last episode I only gave a 3 out of 5 for, I felt that it did pace itself better than other episodes. But yeah, most of these episodes just end far too quickly. They just like... that they're so good at setting up an episode they can't finish it in the amount of time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Any lowlights?
Yeah, but... Well, okay, so first of all, I had a little nitpick that whenever someone was getting turned to stone, they continued to scream until the petrification reached the top of their head, rather than once it covered the mouth. So that was something that literally didn't matter a single bit, but just kind of annoyed me.
I didn't notice. That's funny.
It was kind of a shame that Boogeyman isn't electric sliding all over the place, because when I heard it, I was like, they should be dancing. But
That's funny. Now, it's more like, it's Boogeyman, but it's Boogeyman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely got that, but I was just memeing.
It should be Boogeymen, because there's multiple of them.
It should be, but you gotta end every Digimon's name in Mon, I guess, so...
Except for the ones that end with Mons.
Oh, there are some?
Yeah, in Cross Wars, there are some Digimon that kind of, like, exist in groups, like Starmons. So it's got, like, a Z at the end. So it's pronounced Starmonz, like, and Pikmonz. So we actually do have a plural form of Digimon, and it's just Digimons with
That's
a Z
pretty
on the
wild.
end.
I did not know
So,
that.
yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah, it's as far as I know, it's only in Cross Wars.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the only time I've ever seen it being used as the plural. But it's so funny to me that it's like, I guess that's canon.
Yeah. But as far as like moving on to an actual lowlight, I was a little confused because admittedly I might be recalling imperfectly, but I could have sworn that in a previous episode we basically said explicitly Digimon can materialize to whatever the hell extent they want, whenever the hell they want. But this time they were saying the Boogeyman needed to laugh at the screams of terrified young girls in order to fully materialize.
I think it might depend on the Digimon at this point, because Dracomon also couldn't materialize. And I feel like maybe each Digimon is different in that way.
Maybe.
Or rather,
that's
they have
possible.
to... Because I think Bokumon also, rest in peace, said that you have to learn how to materialize. And that's something that he said he could teach the group and he could teach Clockmon too. So I feel like it's something you have to learn.
I vaguely recall this, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on the Digimon, how they materialize or how they learn. Maybe this is the only way that the Boogeymon's have learned how to materialize. So that works too.
That's fair. Okay, so that low light might just be due to my own poor recall. I'd have to go back and watch to make sure. But what was the other thing too? Just kind of even though I feel like it was one of the ones that was better executed, it was still, I guess, sort of like you said. We had a nice fight shaping up, and then we just kind of stopped. And at least this time they made it more like, I don't think they could have stopped Felismon from leaving, but it sure was just another instance of, and time's up, we gotta stop now. And it doesn't feel it doesn't leave quite as bad a taste in my mouth after some of the more recent episodes, specifically the Gulaskamas, that one. Since we actually did, have stakes there and had a conflict happen where Digimon died. But it is sure another one in the column of, and then the bad guy left for no reason.
Yeah, which I guess, at least we're not doing at the end of every episode, like, we just talk it out and the Digimon realizes that they were in the wrong. Like, at least we're not doing that every single episode.
Yeah, we haven't done that for a while now, have we?
I think we said in one episode, we're really getting sick of it, and then it never happened again. So,
well, that's good.
In fact, we had the Zasumon even sort of pretend to do this sort of, oh shucks, we learnt our lesson, but it was just a pretend.
Yeah.
Like that, I still like that. The fact that it was just like, oh, this was just misunderstanding, like all the other Digimon.
Kind of makes you wonder if Clockmon's just playing the long con now.
Nah, I think Clockmon is, because we've had him since, and he's just kind of like
I don't think so either, but it would be quite the plot twist if this was all part of the master plan. Yeah,
if Clockmon's the big bad, I guess that could happen.
The ending is the same as the beginning.
Yeah, that's very clock-like, I guess. Mm-hmm. But my main lowlights were the same lowlight I have for almost every episode, I guess. And also the fact that the evolution felt very, anticlimactic, very sudden. Angoramon didn't... Yeah, in this episode.
I liked it, personally.
Yeah,
I will admit that despite all that, I don't feel like Angoramon was left that much of an impact on me this week, but I still liked the...
No. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't think Angoramon talked until he evolved in this episode. That was my main thing.
He only had a few lines if he did, yeah. I can't remember now.
Yeah, he is kind of more soft-spoken than the other characters, but I felt like this episode, while we have had the relationship and bond between Ruri and Angoramon kind of grow in the episodes, and we've had probably more time with their relationship growing than any of the other kids with their Digimon. Mm-hmm. With that, we've had several episodes about them just existing and kind of being different people, or different quote-unquote people, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I still felt like this episode didn't really have them interact in a way that I would usually expect in an evolution episode. But again, that likely falls under the pacing issue that every episode feels like it could just be a two-parter. Mm-hmm. This episode, if it was a two-parter and it was just the episode ended when they're all evolved about to face off with Felismon, that would be kind of cool. But Ghost Game's episodes are trying to be more episodic in the way that, like, you know, an episode ends and that's, you don't have to, there may be a minor cliffhanger for the whole overall plot, but there's no, like, you need to watch next episodes to find out how this fight ends kind of thing, which, double-edged sword, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically all I had for lowlights.
Yeah, that's all I have for lowlights too, which is, again, these lowlights are not unique to this episode. They're kind of just, like, ongoing issues with Ghost Game overall. But having said that, I'm still really enjoying Ghost Game. Like, it does
sorry,
have
I lied.
that
I had
issue.
one more thing.
Yeah. Oh, you lied.
I know, I'm so sorry. Why did Postmon just save everyone at the end?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, that's also one of my lowlights, so I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, the fact that not only does he just say, oh, I'm going to leave the fight now, but I'm also going to turn everyone back to human again. Like, that was like, I'm really hoping that it's because of some, like, he didn't really need them to be stone, he was kind of just doing that for funsies.
Yeah, that's how they made it sound.
Yeah, he just kind of wanted them to the Boogeyman to laugh at the horror.
Yeah.
I don't, but I guess if this is a big bad that's coming back, I'm hoping that they explain why he just kind of was like, okay, statues are now humans again, I'm leaving now.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be
it
like,
felt weird.
Someone could probably make an argument for it being a sort of, you know, leave some survivors so there's people to, you know, spread fear of me sort of scenario, but that's definitely not the impression that I got. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
if that's the case, then say it, please.
Yeah, he just said, like, oh, because you didn't get to have your fortune read, I'm going to revert the statues to human.
Yeah, which made me wonder, like, okay, is this, like, some throwback to, like, you know, is this a reference to how this Digimon worked in some ancient throwback or something, or...
I don't know, but it's just...
Since you don't seem to have a... Since you aren't saying yes, I'm going to assume that it isn't.
From what I know, nah, this is just fine. And it's also like they were trying to do the whole be careful of what you wish for, but the people didn't really get to wish for anything. It was just like him saying what they wish for. It was kind of weird.
Well, I think he got them all to wish for, you know, whatever is happening to stop, and then he did by turning them into a statue, you know?
Yeah, but he was like, you wish for a puppy, and the girl's like, but I already have a dog. And he's like, doesn't matter, here, have a demon.
Oh. It might just be a difference in subtitles then, but mine said, you know, your lucky item is blank, or something like that. It wasn't necessarily, this is your wish, it was basically just, like...
Oh, yes, no, some of them were lucky items, some of them were like, this is what you wish for, and they were like, no? But, yeah, it's just...
Okay.
I guess that's my main low light of just, like, why did he just kind of leave and revert everything he'd done?
Yeah, and I would even be fine with him just leaving, but, like, leave the statues, you know? Have an impact.
And they were just, like, they weren't, like, characters, so why are we not... Like, it doesn't matter if they statue for the moment, right? They're not, like, main characters. We don't need them in the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, it certainly jives with what they've done every other episode, too, is, you know, at the end of the day, everything's back to normal, more or less.
Yeah, except for the terrifying demon on the loose.
Mm-hmm. But we don't have any statues, we don't have any mega-aged people, we don't have any mummies. People got their, you know, body parts that were removed from the pictures restored and all that.
There's not the Zasumon running around, which, by the way, wouldn't people be, like, terrifyingly, like, anxious and wary of anything because of the whole demons jumping out of the phone and attacking sort of thing that went on, like, a few episodes ago?
Mm-hmm. That's a low light that I didn't have written down, but yeah, it does seem like we're just... Well, I guess I wouldn't really expect that much about the Zasumon this episode, and I would have, I guess, complained more about just kind of ignoring the fact that Bokomon died and Gulus Gamamon happened if it had been an episode more focused around Gamamon. But honestly,
it's fine.
Gamamon's participation as a sled dog was like the perfect amount of Gamamon for this episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this episode definitely had the perfect amount of Gamamon.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for an episode that wasn't Gamamon related. And still, I like that, and I know that we're meant to be talking about lowlights, but I guess a quick highlight is, even though this was a Ruri episode, the other characters got to participate as well, which is always nice to see.
Yep. Yeah, even if it was in noticeably more minor roles, it was still nice to, you know, have it be a team effort rather than just, this is this character's episode, full stop.
Yeah. So, favorite character, who was yours this week?
It's a really hard choice, but I think I gotta give it to Postmon.
Oh, the baddie.
The baddie, yeah. I liked his design. I liked the, like, he's just got the perfect, like, eccentric billionaire with a, like, garden maze full of statues of terrified people vibe going that I really respected.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that he freed them all, because that's a carnival attraction right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, my
Put
favorite
that in a
was,
haunted house with a bunch of mirrors and you're golden.
Oh, absolutely horrifying, yeah. And, I mean, I kind of feel bad about mine now, because I chose Angoramon just because, even though he didn't really speak, he was just really well animated, and he's just, like, the fact that he was just kind of flying and pointing at things just gave me so much joy. And I just really liked Simbara Angoramon. I just looked really cool and fancy.
Yeah, no, that was what I was initially going to give it to, but then I realized as I was talking to you how, like, relatively little of an impact Angoramon, and I wrote it down somewhere, but now I can't find it. What's Angoramon's evolution's name?
Simbara Angoramon.
Simba Angoramon, yeah. It just left very little impact on me overall relative to, well, Felismon, I guess.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Rui was also a high contender on that.
Yeah. Well, that's another reason why I didn't choose Ruri, because I was like, maybe someone else will choose Ruri. But also, yeah, I liked Angoramon in this episode.
Yeah, agreed.
So what about rating out of 5?
I need to look at the spreadsheet to remember.
Because, I mean, I feel like I gave it too low. I gave it a 3, but I liked this episode.
You gave this a 3?
Yeah, I gave it a 3 because, like, it felt very... Insane. Like, I really didn't like the fact that Felismon just kind of left and reverted the humans back to statues. But also, like, I don't know, I felt like the evolution happened very quickly. The whole thing was kind of anticlimactic. I mean, I still enjoyed it, but it was just okay. And I mean, and it was really well animated. But also, I mean, I've given a lot of things a 3 too, so a 3 is not necessarily, like, a low mark for me. I feel like that's fair. Yeah, the 3, I give everything to. I like this episode, but there are other episodes that I think I liked more. But that doesn't mean that this is a bad episode by any means. I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than last week's episode, but not by much. So, what did you give it?
Well, we're having some conversation pieces now, because I was going to give it a 5.
No, give it a 5, please.
I'm going to. I'm still going to. But good. I was just I expected us to all be relatively in the same area. Like, I was expecting the lowest to be a 4. So I'm kind of surprised you gave it a 3. But no, yeah, I'm going to give it a 5. I liked a lot about this.
I think, hang on, the next highest for me in my ranking was... So in my ranking, episode 15 is in 12th place, but then the one in 11th place is episode 8. Which was the Mario Kart episode. And I really liked that episode. And I feel like I liked this episode not quite as much, but almost as much. So I'm actually going to give it a 3.5.
Okay.
Which is the same rating as the Systemon episode. Okay. But it still sits below it. So, okay, you've convinced me a 3 was too low. It gets a 3.5.
I didn't mean to sway your opinion, but...
No, it's fine, because I
was
kind of like...
in the right direction.
Yeah, I did like this episode, but it's just, again, like, it felt like it just has a lot that is wrong with it, that's wrong with Ghost Game in general, so, yeah, but you're right, it is good, it is animated well, which I'm really enjoying how beautiful this episode was to watch.
Definitely.
So, I already said that it was ranked 13th in my ranking. What about in your ranking? Where are we putting it?
Okay, so let's see. I think I'm going to put it below the Gulaskamamon episode, but above the Tesla Jellymon episode. So I think that would be number 2 for me.
Hang on, just look at the Tesla Jellymon episode is you put in 13th place, and the episode 13 you put in 1st place. So that's a bit of a... Can we narrow it down?
Oh, which was episode 5?
That was Jellymon's introduction episode.
Jellymon's introduction episode. Okay, my bad. I forgot which one was which. Okay, so put it...
I was about to say, like...
My bad, yeah. Put it above Jellymon's intro episode.
So 2nd place.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so that makes more sense, because you put episode 10, which was the Tesla Jellymon episode, in 13th place, and the Gillis Gammon episode in 1st place, so I was just like, okay, between 1st and 13th place, please narrow it down.
Yep, now that is my bad.
That makes sense. I was just looking at the chart going, like, what?
Yep.
I know it's sometimes hard to choose between episodes, but please. But no, second place. That's fair. We don't have response from Quinn, so we can't do our overall ranking yet without Quinn's, but we'll do that when we can.
Mm-hmm.
And do we have any miscellaneous thoughts? Because I feel like we have discussed this episode a lot.
We have.
Alright, now that we've discussed the episode, let's move on to Postmon, Pondering, and predictions. And of course, because I myself am a miscellaneous thought, I haven't actually got the comments up on my screen.
Oops.
So excuse while I click wildly to get them. Here we are. So, okay. So I have them with my chattering out of the way. So first up, Twilord says, hearing the thoughts from you good folk on each episode is nearly as fun as watching the episodes, which means you're much better than Adventure 2020, which is the highest compliment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how much you enjoy Colin.
There's got to be someone out there who just loves it, but
oh yeah, there are people who definitely enjoy Adventure Colin, but I am personally not one. I thought it was okay, but it was no Atmon.
Yeah.
And so far, it is no Ghost game.
It's certainly an entry in the Digimon franchise, and that's about all I'll say about it.
Certainly is. Next up, we have TGS, who says that they gave the episode a 3.5 out of 5, and it was just a cute and light episode after how dark the episode before was. But they're glad that we got a little plot from Hero's dad, and it seems to tell us, like past seasons, that Digimon seem to draw on the emotion and connection with humans. They agree that it seems that the Digivice just seems to help fast-track amplify the power the bond brings to Digimon. And yeah, I also kind of like that little tidbit about the Digivice V with how it tracks the vitals being the connection between them. Like, I'm a big fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Danny, who says that they liked episode 14 a lot, so they gave it a 4 out of 5. It broke their heart seeing Gammon saying that he wants to share the food with Bokumon, and not really understanding that Bokumon won't come back. They also enjoyed seeing Blacktailmon Uva, Hero's dad, and the team talking about Gullus Gammon, but they do wish that Hero's dad would have given the team some useful information instead of bragging about his wonderful adventures in the digital world. So, but I kind of like the fact that he's so extra. He's just, like, bragging about his holidays to the kids. Like, I don't mind that.
That's fair.
Next, we have Narumi, who says the episode was a 3.5 out of 5 for them. It was a heartwarming episode, and we had a little bit of plot progression. The best part of the episode for them was Gammon not talking about chocolate during the entire episode, which I didn't even realise, but yeah, that he didn't mention chocolate for once, so he must have been having trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Next, they say that Komon's stories were cute, Hiro did not care about his father's safety, and we did not have the annoying scene where the boys enter the wrong bath and the girls scream and throw stuff at them, or the contrary situation. Yeah, that's a good point. Digimon love to have, like, the onsen as, like, a boy entering the girl's side and getting screamed and thrown and stuff thrown at them. It happens multiple times in the original adventure. Mm-hmm. Like, my favourite one being Gomamon just swimming in the girl's side and getting thrown over, which is just so beautiful to me.
I'm glad that they didn't do it, but that's such a low bar that I don't really feel like praising them for not tripping over it.
Yeah. That is fair. They then finish off to say that their low light is that separating the boys from the girls made Ruri and Jellymon have less interaction because the boys were more of a focus. And yeah, I got that, but I also liked that we got to see them hang out. Like, I liked that moment so much that I didn't mind too much that they were not as much of a focus.
Yeah.
Next, we have Spore Halo, who says it's a solid 3 out of 5 for them. Granny being able to see Komon, they think has less to do with chosen children nonsense and more that some people are able to see ghosts in other media, since they are hologram ghosts. Hero's frustration about the lack of information from his dad and willingness to just ask Gullus for info is a nice touch. They also feel like the kids have told Gammon about Bokumon multiple times, and they're just leaving well enough alone. And yeah, I guess I kind of got that as well. Like, they might have just already said, hey, Gammon, yeah, Bokumon's gone, and they were just kind of sick of
I did not get that impression, especially when they were talking about Gammon saying that Pokemon was on an adventure, you know? I'm pretty sure they're just skirting the issue, but feel free to read into it whatever you want, I suppose.
Next, we have Digital Hazard, who says the episode was a 2 out of 5 for them. They felt like they kind of glazed over the dark evolution, with Hero having Gammon evolve for Monkey Fireworks, but they'd held out hope that they'd use Granny plot to explain death to Gammon, but no, she actually just moved away. Disappointing after the tension of episode 13.
Yep.
And yeah, I feel like
100%.
episode 14 is a fine episode on its own, but it definitely kind of like, they gloss over all the death and the dark trauma that happened the episode before.
Yeah.
So I felt like that also kind of hurt episode 14.
Definitely.
But I still enjoyed it. But again, on its own, it's fine. But when you start thinking about what had just happened, it feels like it's kind of missing out on something.
Yeah, it suffers from its context, which I feel like it might have even been better if they just completely ignored it, but they even talked about, Kiyoshiro and Ruri being anxious about letting Gamamon evolve, so, like, they talked about it, so we know it's still,
Yeah.
it's still topical, but then they just went on to ignore it.
Yeah. Next, we have M, who says that it was a 4 out of 5 for them, and they really liked the episode, but it's not quite a 5 because they felt like they could have kept the granny dead to match the theme of dealing with loss. It felt weird to them, they just waved it off. Still, it's nice seeing the characters get to chill for a bit after a traumatic event, and overall they enjoyed it. And yeah, I enjoyed last episode too, and I still got the impression that the granny actually was just dead. I don't know why I got that impression.
They left it pretty vague. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember enough to have a strong opinion.
Yeah, that is fair. I did have to remind you what happened.
You did.
So, next we have Andrew, who says that the episode dropped the ball literally. That's a good one. And they say that after the episode, they want to give Gammon and Komon a hug and chocolate, and yeah, that is fair. And in the Holo Dad scene, did the new dim cards just an area or there extra slots for new Digimon? That'd be cool seeing the trio with their own team, like in Cyber Sleuth. They bet Hero would have Mummymon as a second Digimon, or maybe a new ally, or maybe Gulas if they do a Hulk thing separating Ben from Hulk. And yeah, I guess I think it's just a new area for them to go to when they go to the digital space. Next, we have Mateus, who says for some reason they can't stop thinking since the beginning of Ghost Game that Hero's dad is dead or something similar. And Uber Blacktailmon is just in charge of delivering the recordings from time to time to his son. They find it somewhat suspicious that Hero is simply receiving pre-recorded messages rather than some direct contact from him. And yeah, I still am on team, like, they're doing a Detective Pikachu, and Gamamon is Hero's dad, or the Black Algamon is Hero's dad. Like, I'm leaning towards Gamamon. And
so,
yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, feel free to finish up your thought, but I have a very ridiculous prediction now.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So, not only is Hero's dad dead, but he's also the big bad, and this is the Ghost Game. He's toying with them.
That is very funny. I kind of like that.
Fingers crossed, but I have no hopes that it's correct.
Actually, now I think about it, we actually have done Detective Pikachu in Digimon before. We did it in Digimon Data Squad, or Digimon Savers, which is the 5th season. The main character's dad goes missing in the digital world, and we later find out that he became, like, a Leomon, like, he fused with one.
What the hell?
To survive.
Okay.
And then ends up, like, being a Leomon and dying. So, so maybe we're doing a Detective Pikachu with Gamamon, but hopefully it doesn't end the same way. Mateus also says that they're not sure if we've mentioned it, but isn't Gamamon's bandana part of Hakuto's ripped shirt? Yes, it is, which only leads into my Detective Pikachu-esque theory, which is, it's, like, I think in Detective Pikachu, wasn't the hat, that Pikachu wore the dad's hat or something?
I think so, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I have another far-fetched theory now, though.
That's another Pokemon.
It is.
Go ahead.
This is not a theory about Pokemon, though. The theory is that the like, dark shadow Digimon are humans who died in the digital world and got reincarnated as a Digitama, and then are, like, they're, like, tainted or something.
The time I died in the digital world and was reincarnated as a Digitama.
That's a light novel right there.
That's my light novel. The time I mean, isn't there, like, a spin-off of Dragon Ball where a kid dies in the real world and gets reincarnated as Yamcha from Dragon Ball? Yeah.
Haven't read it,
I'm not sure if that's a fever dream, but the fact that you also realised that it was Yamcha makes me think it wasn't, like, a fever dream and it's actually something that exists.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Like, imagine if you die and get isekai'd into Dragon Ball, but you're Yamcha. That is some, like, one of those $1 million butt kind of questions. Like, this happens, but you're Yamcha.
Toe curls on the monkey's paw.
Yeah. Anyway, so they continue to say that maybe it's just them, despite the sounding a bit generic, they are sure something bad happened to Hiro's dad, and they can see that we're getting a flashback of him tearing apart his shirt, putting the bandana on Gammon while saying to him, please protect your big brother, or something like that in the future. Yeah, me too. And yeah, that would be really sad, and I'd also, like, they say that it'll be disappointing if it's not the case, and I kind of like, I'm still on team Detective Pikachu that Gammon is Hakuto.
I'm sticking to my far-fetched theory that it's actually Shadow Algamon is actually Hiro's dad.
Yeah, that works too. Mateus then says that in the dims that we have, seems like the same colour as Titan of Dust, which is the desert biome, and is wondering if the other dim is Blizzard Fang. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Blizzard Fang because I'm coughing, and that means that I'm in the, it's a blizzard, cough, cough. No, it just means that it is like 40 degrees in here, and I have a very dry throat, and I've been talking for over an hour, so I'm dying. But yeah, no, I think it is Blizzard Fang, because we get the snow biome. Oh no. This is my last podcast, because apparently I'm dying from like,
rip air.
It's so hot in here. Anyway, we're almost done. So, Meow-sama says that they're giving it a 4 out of 10. They like it, but they definitely don't think it's a good Aftermath episode. I can't talk now. Wow, the outro is going to be fun. Yes, it played into themes of episode 13, but it skated over pretty fast for them, and it made it kind of seem like Bokemon's death wasn't sad at all, and it's kind of just right back to Scooby-Doo monsters, and they're wondering how much time has passed, and no one really has PTSD, and I'm dying. Please, Chloe, don't Dark Evolve because of my death.
Okay, I'll do my best to keep myself cool.
But thank you for all of your comments. I'm glad that y'all can make it to my death. Apparently, it is significantly hot in here. Anyway, so hopefully we can move on and I can die after the podcast. So what are your thoughts about the series so far now that I've died?
I'm feeling better now that I feel like we've got, if not concrete, pretty solid evidence of like an overarching plot for the series. Even if we don't know what exactly that'll be yet. I'm feeling better. Yeah,
me too. I'm glad that, like, we all can fight now. The fact that we've all gotten to adult level now makes me feel like they're going to be able to fight together a little bit more than they were before, because Angoramon was kind of just, like, would be carrying Gammamon and then throwing Gammamon, and then Gammamon would evolve, and then Angoramon would just be vague.
Yep, pretty much.
But I'm glad that, like, I'm kind of glad that Gammamon was less, like, chocolate-focused in this episode.
Yeah, I'm glad that Gammamon just kind of more or less wasn't in this episode, as much as that's mean to say. But also, Gammamon doesn't exist, so it's not that mean.
No, I feel like they're pretty good in the way of juggling the characters now. Like, this episode kind of showed us that, yes, you can juggle characters and have characters sort of show up in other characters' focus episodes, but it doesn't take away from the main character focus. And you can still have Gammamon being likable, actually. You can still have Jellymon and Kiyoshiro doing their own thing. I still really like how Jellymon's got, like, a side hustle. That's just really precious to me. Yeah,
it's kind of cool to see Digimon that, you know, are not, like, attached to their human partner at the hips. You know, they just kind of do their own thing. And I guess, you know, Gammamon doesn't fit into that because, you know, it's a child and he wouldn't really have anything else to do other than, you know, be a child.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if any other seasons of Digimon have done that, but I think it's a fun thing to do.
The original adventure had Patamon be kind of also like a baby, even though they were all the same level. Like, Patamon was a little bit more of a baby. He was partnered with the youngest of the kids, and he was kind of like a little bit of a crybaby, so they kind of have done, like, a character being a baby before, but Gammamon is more like... I think I like Gammamon more.
I guess I meant, with regard to the Digimon partners that just kind of have their own lives away from their human partner.
Renamon in Tamers would frequently just go out and have adventures.
Okay, gotcha.
And Terriermon really wanted to kill other Digimon a lot.
But Terriermon was still with What's-His-Bucket almost all the time.
Yeah,
I haven't watched all of Tamers, to be fair.
Oh no, yeah, Terriermon kind of just lived with Lee.
Yeah.
Renamon just went on her own adventures and was kind of like, she'd be hanging out with Impmon.
Okay.
And also, speaking of which, Impmon did have human partners, but escaped from them because he hated how they were always fighting, because he had 2 partners rather than just 1. And he kind of just ran away from them, so he kind of did have his own life.
Okay.
Like, he wasn't joined at the hip there.
Well,
and that's something that...
Yeah, it's a nice little touch.
Yeah, like, it's something that a lot of Digimon seasons don't really do, and they don't, which is have the Digimon partners exist as entities apart from their human partners. And I feel like it's only really Tamers and Ghost Game that have done that, I think.
I'll have to take your word for it.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think, and I feel like that, yeah, they kind of just do exist. There's been, like, in-between seasons, like, in between Cross Wars Part 2 and Part 3, like, some time passed, and one of the Digimon partners ended up becoming the king of the digital world, like, on his own, and that was kind of, like, his own goal that he had from Episode 1.
That's pretty wild.
So they kind of do exist on their own, but it's never been, like, as much as what Ghost Game had or what Tamers has had a little bit of. I think Ghost Game might be putting that a little bit more. Like, we have Angoramon having the tea parties, and we have Jellymon having the jobs.
Mm-hmm. It's nice.
So, episode 16 is called The Man-Eater's Forest. Do we have any predictions? Because the next time on, which is pretty great, all the next time ons are fairly vague about what's happening, which I'm a big fan of.
It seems like we kind of got like a Lost Forest vibe going on here, so I'm here for that. I'm also kind of digging that we got at least, a few frames of seemingly Hero and Betelgeumamon like actually struggling against an opponent and like losing, as opposed to fighting and winning handily, or fighting and then something happens to just stop the fight.
Yeah, I hope that this episode will have them address the darkness, like they they talk about it more, because if it is a Gamamon and Hero episode, I really hope that they do address that.
Yeah, I feel like they've
pessimistic.
Gotta,
I'm pessimistic because, like, if they don't address it, I'm going to have an issue with the episode, because it would feel like, if they don't address it at least in some way, like, if they do in Adventure Colon, we addressed that Mugendramon had happened before when Mugendramon showed up, but one character was like internally, they had, like, a flashback, and they didn't care to share it with anyone else. So I hope it's not just like that. I want them to kind of, like, address it a little bit, what happened. I'd be kind of annoyed if they don't.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm hoping that they do.
Wrap up time before I die?
I am ready to wrap it up.
Okay, hopefully I can do it. Okay.
I believe in you.
Yay.
I will
Alright,
Goku you my spirit energy or whatever.
Yeah, Yamcha.
Exactly.
Anyway, maybe that's what killed me. Yamcha killed me. Anyway, so I will now do the wrapping up. Alright everyone, so thanks for listening to this week's episode. Apologies for my sudden death. And I do thank you for listening and for sticking by us, of course. And thank you to Chloe for joining us.
You're very welcome.
So the link dump is linked in the description, and so is our Redbubble. And you can contact us and stay updated. So you can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or on our website, which is on our website, and I can't talk, LostinTranslationmon.com, or you can comment on this episode on YouTube and we'll read it out on the show. You can chuck us a follow at TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on Lost in Translation on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube. I'm on TikTok as @Digimon_Hero, and Hero is spelled the Weeb way, so Hiro, and I stream on twitch.tv/translationmon. And you can chat with us on the Lost in Translation Discord server, also linked in the description. And you can also find us on many podcast catchers, and Spotify has recently enabled the ability to leave reviews. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, please chuck us a review there, or on any other podcast catcher that accepts reviews. And if I see it, I will read it on the podcast, and if not, let me know via Twitter or YouTube or whatever that you've left us a review so I can find it and you can make my day. Or our day, rather, because if you should shout out my wonderful co-hosts, because I think that at this point they're here to stay. They will not leave. I have loosened their handcuffs and they have got Stockholm Syndrome at this point.
Only a little.
Only little. So you can donate to the Patreon, and that's linked in the description from as little as $1 a month. And that's it gets you access to the Patreon-only areas of our Discord server, but there are higher levels, more rewards, such as unedited and early episodes and more, so check that out. And of course, thank you to our current supporters on Patreon, Joe, Stephen Reeves, who is Wild64 an archive of our own, Kadawashi, Chisai, who can follow on Twitter at Chisai236, Neobu, who says you should follow Chisai on Twitter at Chisai236. See, I'm dying.
Doing good.
Kyle, Lismet, who's a Lekmon on Tumblr, Nicholas, Sam, Emery from Gone While Hunting, a Hunt Hard to Rewatch podcast, Magnus, Lucas, JCMon05, Patrick, Jason, Great Tanuki, Shelby, Digital Hazard, who is on Twitch at The Digital Hazard, Dedicated Ghazi, Alemist, and Michael. And of course, you can also make a one-off donation on PayPal, which can be found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Ergemon. And of course, you can also donate to me on my coffee account, ko-fi.com/Airdra. So again, thanks for y'all for listening, and of course, thanks to Chloe for joining us. Can we find you anywhere this time, Chloe?
The usual, you know. I'm around Discord occasionally, on once in a blue moon, if blue moons happen every week or so.
if blue moons happen every week, then that is true. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so thanks y'all for joining me, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.